Hello, summer 2022 Psychology of Gender students. I am Dr. Taryn Myers. I created the course and I will be your instructor for this section as well. Welcome to this course. This is a very interesting time to be talking about gender-related issues. Hopefully you all have been following the news, but unfortunately, the Supreme Court has been making decisions that have been taking away freedoms and decisions that, in my opinion, should be made between a woman and her doctors, or rather than by government officials who may not know anything at all about reproductive health care. But there's also obviously a lot of gun-related violence, particularly racially motivated gun-related violence. And we also acknowledge all of the continuing inequalities, inequities that have existed since before this country was founded, including the history of slavery, the history of treatment of immigrants, particularly Asian and Latinx immigrants, and the history of the way Indigenous peoples have been treated and how their land has been stolen, and how for many of those groups and also people of differing abilities and people of differing mental capacities, the subjects of these topics, including things like reproductive freedom, are particularly sticky because for a long time, many of these individuals did not have reproductive choice because they were, for example, involuntarily sterilized. They'd go in for what they thought was a routine medical procedure and maybe be given a hysterectomy. And so that is a history that continued in our state of Virginia until, I believe, the 70s. It's really in recent history. And so we need to be aware of all these things, and we need to be aware of how all these things intersect and how the way freedoms are being taken away right now may apply to other groups in the future, including our LGBTQ plus allies. So we know that trans individuals are having their rights taken away in many states, most frighteningly in Texas, where it's now considered child abuse and you can be investigated by Child Protective Services for it. And you know, there's been an implication that the right for people to marry whoever they want may also be taken away. So this is a scary time, but it's also a really important time to be learning about issues related to gender, intersectional feminism, inequity, diversity, and justice. So I'm just going to take a quick minute to walk you all through the course for those of you who are not familiar with how these asynchronous online courses work. So this is in student preview mode, so you'll be able to see the way you would see it. So if you click on first day, there'll be a welcome, there'll be an intro video I created when I first designed the course. And then there are the quick things about meeting you, meeting me, meeting your classmates. One of your first assignments is to do a little introductory video about yourself, your pronouns, your major, etc. So my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I have been a professor at Wesleyan for about 12 years. I have one daughter. I am very white, as you can tell, pasty white, and I identify as straight and cisgender, and I'm upper middle class. So I fully acknowledge a lot of the privilege that I bring to this course. And I encourage each of you to consider what privileges you might also have. So it's a privilege just to be able to afford to take these types of courses, right, and to further your education. And that's not something we necessarily think about. Then what will happen throughout the semester is that each week, and a week is sort of Monday to Sunday, you will be engaging with a learning module. And so when you look at these, you can then click in. So this is the module for this week. It will give you objectives. You can either click down this sort of table of contents or just use this arrow over in the corner to go through. It'll tell you what to read. There are videos of me giving mini lectures. Actually, some of them are longer than mini lectures. There are a couple topics I just have a lot to say about. I'm very passionate about this topic. Psychology of gender merely marries my two passions, which are clinical psychology and gender, women, and sexuality studies. So I get really excited about it. You will see your reading assignments from the books. The list is the white covered textbook with sort of the rainbow print. The Roberts is the green covered textbook. And that Roberts is primary source readings. Occasionally you'll also have readings posted here that are additional PDFs. The supplemental resources are never required, but are just things that I think would be helpful if you're more interested in the topic. And some of these are really good, like Psychology's Feminist Voices is a whole resource devoted to the history of women. And they've really made an effort in more recent years to encompass all women, not just white women, right, in psychology and their contributions. So one of the things you'll do for this class is that you are going to, during one of the upcoming weeks, lead discussion. Now, were we in class face-to-face, you would actually like come with questions and we would discuss. Because we're asynchronous, what you do is you create the discussion board for that week. So for this week, what you're doing is just looking over the syllabus. And if you're not familiar with where that is, you can find it right here. I'm going to just open it in a new tab so I don't lose my spot. It should open right in your browser, depending on your browser settings. If not, it'll download a PDF. And so if you scroll, there's a lot in here. If you scroll to the bottom, you will see a whole schedule. There we go, of what topics we're covering. So I am taking care of all the discussions for week 1 because it's unfair to throw someone in that quickly. But starting with week 2, look at these topics: similarities and differences, beyond the sex gender binary, gender socialization, women's bodies, etc. Those are the topics that you have the choice of leading. And then what I will do is go through and assign them and let you all know pretty quickly so that the people who are doing the assignments next week will be ready to do it. So it's going to yell at me because I haven't actually turned anything in, but that's okay. So here's that video introduction assignment. If you're not familiar with how to do that, a couple ways you can do it. Just grab your cell phone and record a video like you're making a TikTok. Or an Instagram or whatever social media is your passion. Usually it's within your camera. My favorite way to do it is to open a Zoom window. You can do this even with the free version of Zoom. Start a new meeting with just you, yourself, and you. That's what I'm doing right now. And then you hit the record button and that will record you. And you're going to tell us your preferred name, your pronouns, your major, your goal month and year of graduation. We know sometimes this shifts, and then why you decided to take this class. Okay, you'll also be doing blogs every week where you reflect on what we're talking about. I'd love to see you tie it to other things like TV commercials, music. Unfortunately, the news is going to be a really easy one to do right now, right? So tie that in. Here you'll find the discussions. And so there's always a link to what these look like. You will open the discussion here and you'll see there are a lot of questions just to give you options. And when you're leading, you really only need probably 5 to 7 of these. I just go overboard. And you'll see there's lots of different questions and some of them are activities. You do not have to do all of them. You're only required to do one, but I encourage you that if there's more than one that really strikes your fancy, go ahead, go for it. And then, you know, that's due by Wednesday at midnight every week. And then by Sunday at midnight every week, you're going to comment on at least one other classmate's discussion post. Each week you will rate the discussion leaders. The first week you don't need to do it because I'm the leader. I mean, if you really want to rate me, feel free, but you don't have to. Okay. And there'll be a discussion for each chapter. So most weeks you will have 2 discussions and you have to post at least once on each. So like for this week, you do discussion 1 and discussion 2. And then you will have an exam. These are open book, open note, not timed. Sometimes they will just be identifications. And in that case, what I want you to do is just explain, define the term, and then tell us the significance of that term for the study of psychology of gender. Why do we need to know this term for this course? Then you'll always have a summary and look ahead that kind of gives you an overview. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing screen just so you can see me a little bit closer. So that is how the course works. The only other thing I'll give you the heads up to is that unlike probably some of the other online asynchronous courses you've taken, I do try to make this as personable as possible. So one of your assignments is to meet with me via Zoom, Google Meet, Teams. And if your tech isn't working, we can certainly string something over email. And that's just for us to get to know each other. So I put a name to a face and we make a connection rather than us all being just sort of like screen names. So I believe that's due by the end of next module. If you have any questions, please email me, tmyers@bw.edu. And I am so glad to be on this journey with you. I hope you find this class particularly relevant and helpful right now. And the reason that we require this course or one like it is that one of the goals that the American Psychological Association has set forth for the undergraduate psychology major is essentially to study diversity and create leaders who are ready to work in a diverse world. And so that is a big part of why this class is important. And I hope you will also find it helpful and relevant. I look forward to interacting with each of you and enjoy, dig in, and really get into the material.